everybody. I'm so happy to bring you this new interview. And actually, today here with me is one of my former clients. And we're going to talk about her story. We're going to talk about her recovery and also where she is today. Because I know like people find these interviews very inspiring and motivating for their recovery. And I know she has also shared with me that like she was once the person like watching those videos and this is like what was very inspiring for her. So this is why we're here. And yeah, so Tan, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so maybe you can start by briefly introducing yourself to the viewers and talk about the background you come from.
My name's Thanh Nguyen, and I grew up in a family of four kids. And I guess from when I was really little, I was always the one with the chubby face. So I wasn't a fat kid or anything, but the one with the chubby face. So I always remember a chatter in my family of me being the fat one. But I think it never really bothered me or anything. And for me, it's just a fact. And I just grew up like that. So I grew up really normally. I didn't have any thoughts about food. I don't even think I have any memory about any food or eating or anything like that until I was 14. So at 14, my parents sent me for a summer, me and my cousin, to go to the States just to hang out. We have family there. I have cousins there. So it's just to go hang out and have fun for summer. So I did. We went and it was so much fun. And my cousins were always, kind of like celebrating with us, so taking us to eat new things. And for me, it was all kinds of like new food and good food. So I ate and I never really thought anything about it. I just ate and ate and ate. And it was fun and it was great. And I really enjoyed myself. And then I came home and I think the faces on my parents were like total panic, I think. Because I probably gained, I don't know, like 10, 15 pounds. Because it was a whole 3 months of eating really well and eating really good food. So I came back and they totally panicked. I remember we went to the nutritionist almost like right away. It was like she gained all this weight and what can we do about it? And mind you, like I was 14, and it's kind of like that age and you're also entering puberty. And I think it's normal for girls that age to also gain a bit of weight. But yeah, uh, I think the fact that I'm also in a Asian family, I think if you're not like thick skinny, you're fat and it's a bad thing. So, anyways, we go to the nutritionist and they put me on a pretty strict diet right away, and it was pretty, they didn't hesitate about it. They didn't like, oh, did you eat a lot lately because of some events or nothing? It's just, okay, you want to lose weight, this is a strict diet. And I remember having to like count my grapes. I couldn't eat more than 10 grapes. And it was just really restrictive. Uh, and I lost weight so fast. I really lost weight fast, and my parents were so happy. And my parents were so proud. They were so happy. They were. They took me off of it because I lost weight so fast that I guess I gained. I reached a pretty normal weight really fast, so they took me off of it. But in my mind, like this, like pride that they had about me losing weight, it really left a mark. And I just continued, like even without the nutritionist, I continued to restrict and I continued to exercise a lot. And I remember like it was to a point that for lunch I would have like a lettuce salad and my dressing was like vinegar and fake sugar. And that was my lunch. And my parents were never worried, they were never alarmed. So I wasn't alarmed, I just continued. I remember having like eating my lunch on the stationary bike because I was so scared of like the calories hitting me that I had to burn it right away. So that continued for a few more months, and I lost my period. So once again, we went to the doctor with my parents, and there too, like no hesitation about, you know, how's your nutrition, how things are going. It was right away, okay, let's put you on the pill. So I've been on the pill, ever since I was 14 because of that. So then I think I continued restricting, but not that bad. I somehow, you know, managed to eat somehow normally after a few months. But I think it just stayed with me. Like ever since that time up till now, and I'm in my 40s, I never stopped dieting. My whole life was a cycle of dieting, losing weight, couldn't take it anymore, stopped dieting, gaining the weight back, being disappointed. It's just a cycle of that over and over again until now.
This is pretty like traumatizing for the young child to be put on a diet. Like, do you remember how old were you when you first did your first diet?
It was at 14.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when I guess it was kind of like a forced diet. My parents put me on it. But after that, I never really, like, I wasn't into the fad diet. Like, I never did any of the low carb, no sugar, none of that. But it was always restricting my calorie intake and overexercising.
Maybe this is even more significant because people think like, oh, only when you do like a fat diet or those extreme diets, you can develop like disordered eating or eating disorders. But actually, like in your case, you didn't never do these fat diets, right? You were
No,
just
I
like
never
restricting
did.
your calories, kind of like the basics. And also it was given you by a dietitian. It's not like you went online and searched some crazy diet or something. It's like you were actually like monitored and everything, and nobody saw any concerns. So, and you developed like really like serious issues for so many years.
Yeah, and for me, it's so surprising, that I'm losing weight so much and no one was concerned about it. I don't know. I guess I don't know, back then my parents didn't know better or anything, but I don't know, when your child loses, I don't know, 20, 25 pounds within a matter of weeks, it's alarming.
Did you lost it in a matter of weeks?
Yeah, I think it was a matter of like 3 months. I
Mm-hmm.
lost so fast.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and you lost your period, and nobody saw it as a like an alarm bell.
Yeah, and no one linked one to the other neither.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
It's
this is
really strange.
like how it's so dangerous that we only see the weight and the weight loss. Like one we
Yeah.
see bad and one we see like inherently good, but actually like underneath, like nobody cares like your health or what you're going through and how it's gonna be sustainable or not sustainable. So
Yeah. And I think
yeah.
everyone that's been on a diet can relate to this. It's when you're at your like sickest, most restrictive phase that you get the most praise and you get the
Mm-hmm.
most compliments.
Mm-hmm.
It's and when you're healthy again and you're plumb again and you have your curves back, everyone's just worried. Like, what's
Mm-hmm.
going on? Did you let yourself go? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a really weird mentality when you think about it.
Yeah. So after that, like first time when you started to restrict your diet, like how many years then you had this eating disorder or disordered eating?
So it was from 14 until recovery, which was 4.5 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So 42, yeah, like 25 years more.
25 years.
28 years, yeah.
Yeah, 28 years. That is a
Yeah.
long time. So can you please, I don't know, talk more about like what was it like? And because I guess like it wasn't just like one way up, it was lot of like up and down
Oh
and
yeah, for
cycles and
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that was the theme of my life, like the yo-yo dieting. I could never stay at a normal weight or like a stable weight for that long of a time. I think the most successful I was lately, maybe in my late 30s. I kind of like found a rhythm that it kind of stabilized my weight for a few years. But other than that, yeah, it's just up and down all the time.
And do you
Yeah.
remember like what did you have to do to like stabilize the weight? I mean, like were you free?
No, like, I think in those 28 years, my mind was never free,
Yeah.
but I really had to, so I was really active. And I would say, like, at my most active, I could go to the gym twice a day. And then at night, I would go climb for like 2, 3 hours, rock climbing, which is super, super demanding on your body. And all of that while I was probably eating the least of everyone I know,
Mhm.
and I never really, I was never really skinny neither. Like, now that I understand the function of my body, like my body was really like good at maintaining my body fat and making sure that, I don't go too low in my BMI or whatever. So I was never skinny. So to everyone, and even to me, for the whole 28 years, I would never say that I had a problem. No one thought I had a problem. Everyone just thought, oh, Tan's the chubby girl that loses weight and gains weight. And I felt the same. Like, I agreed with them. And I went about my life as, I'm different. So I really have to watch what I eat, and I really have to exercise a lot just to stay, to stabilize, just to maintain. But I never ever thought it was a problem. So I even think, like, most of the people are like that. They think about their weight every single day.
How was your relationship with food?
I mean, I feel like it's my longest, strongest relationship in my life. Like, it never left me. It was from the moment I woke up to when I went to bed. It was about how much I ate, what did I eat, should I be allowed to eat that, what should I eat tomorrow because I ate that, what did I eat yesterday, so what should I eat today. And then also, you add in the oh, I ate that. Should I go exercise? Should I go burn it off? I didn't exercise that much yesterday. Maybe I shouldn't eat today. It was like a constant dialogue in my head of should, would, like, it never stopped. Yeah, it's the main conversation in my life. Within my mind, it's me, food, exercise, weight.
And do you remember, like, what were the like physical signs and the mental signs that you had a problem?
Well, first of all, I never thought I had a problem.
Mm.
So up until a few months ago, I never thought I had a problem. I was normal. I was dedicated to maintaining a weight. I didn't think I had a problem, but I was always cold.
Mhm.
My digestive system was so out of whack. Like, I would go to the bathroom maybe once a week. Like, it was like my body was definitely holding on to every calorie it could. So my thoughts were all about food. I would look at recipes, look at new restaurants, look at new foods I could try. All my Instagram likes are about food. Everything in my life revolved around food. And I just kind of like thought it was normal. I was a foodie. I really liked food. I loved cooking and baking. Like, now I'm recovered. I barely do any of that. But back then, I really thought that that's what I liked. That was my identity. So yeah, I never thought I had a problem.
So, like, if you never thought you had a problem, then what was the turning point when you realized that you do have a problem and you have to start doing something differently?
It was after I gave birth to my daughter. I lost the weight really quickly. I didn't gain that much weight to begin with, and I lost it pretty quickly. Mind you, I exercised until I was 38 weeks pregnant, until the week before I gave birth. But I never, I didn't struggle to lose that much my pregnancy weight. But once I stopped breastfeeding, that's when it was so hard. The weight was coming back, and no matter how little I ate, I would just keep on gaining weight slowly. It would creep up on me. And I think that was the first time that I told myself, like, I think something's wrong with my body. Like, I don't think I'm just like this fat person. I feel like it's not normal for someone to eat this little and uh and I guess still gain weight, you know? So for me, I'm like, my metabolism is off, something is off, you know? And I didn't have like the lifestyle that I had before, you know, I couldn't meal prep, I couldn't exercise, you know, I was so busy with my daughter and there was a pandemic, so no gyms were open, you know. So I think I couldn't maintain what I did before. And then the fact that I was gaining weight at such a calorie intake, it for me, there was something wrong. So then at one point, I'm like, I stumbled on intuitive eating, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll try this. You know, it sounds right to me. So I tried it, and I think I tried it for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, and it was kind of working and it wasn't because let's say I would get hungry, I would eat one bite and get full, or I was full but still wanting food. Like something wasn't normal, you know, something wasn't jiving. So I think one day I was on YouTube, and because I've researched so much intuitive eating, it suggested a video of yours. I think something like why intuitive eating is not working.
Yeah.
And then you were explaining it, and then you mentioned this thing called recovery. And I'm like, what? I think my mind was so blown when you said that. I'm like, recovery, what is that? But I think I was still thinking, like, I don't have a problem. You know, I don't have anorexia. I don't have bulimia. You know, I don't feel like I have those medically recognized eating disorder. So I'm like, is it really for me? But there was such a pull to it. Like I felt like everything that you were saying in terms of symptoms and all of that, I had them all, you know? Um, and yeah, that was definitely the turning point. I'm like, yeah, recovery is what I need. But I guess I was still hesitating because I wasn't skinny. I didn't have a problem. You know, I was at that point like overweight. So I'm like, is it really for me? And I remember just being like debating it for not for long because I knew it was right. I'm pretty good at following my gut, you know, and that's why I loved your videos too. You know, follow the intuition. So I think I maybe a couple days later I committed that okay, I'm gonna try this recovery thing. And that's when I contacted you because you also offered coaching. And I'm like, I think I really need help with this. You know, it seems like such a unknown space for me. So yeah, that was my turning point. And also knowing that it was a disorder. Like I had a disorder. You know, I came to terms with I had a disorder, which really made me wanted to heal it. You know, I realized how a disorder is not good for your body, you know, and that's when all the light bulbs went on. And I realized that everything I was doing so far was really detrimental to my body. So I think one of the motivation was I wanted to heal my body and I wanted to live healthy, like the real healthy, but also knowing that I had a disorder, I didn't want to pass it on to my daughter, you know? So that was extra motivation for me for sure. And also, you know, I'm always of the camp that you can't teach your daughter to be something, you know, you have to show them, you have to be it so they can be it. So that's when I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it, you know, I don't want this to be passed on anymore. You know, it ends with me. So yeah, that's when I contacted you and we started it. And that was
Yeah,
4.5 months ago.
I think like it's such a important concept to understand that like there is a eating disorder or disordered eating, and then there is a recovery phase, and
Yeah.
then you arrive to the like normal eating or intuitive eating. And also another thing I want to mention is that like another like huge stigma is that you have to have a diagnosis anorexia, bulimia, whatever clear eating disorder. Otherwise, you are not like legitimate to get help.
Yes.
It's like that is like a very dangerous mindset to have, and I always like to think like the eating disorder or disordered eating is like a spectrum. It's not like a certain point you have to arrive in order to get help. It's like a spectrum, and dieting, I would say, is already on a spectrum. Already there's like so many red flags, and of course we can take a spectrum, I don't know, into like serious like eating disorder, bulimia, and everything. But who says that struggling with food and having all those symptoms like for 28 years, like the behaviors and physical starvation symptoms you had and mental starvation symptoms you had, like who says it's not significant enough to get help? Like I always say that if you feel your eating is not normal, your relationship with food is not normal, then like you deserve recovery, you deserve help.
Yeah.
So, and also another thing you mentioned, like also another huge stigma is that eating disorder is a certain body size. It's like if you're not underweight or certain size, it's like you don't have a problem. In fact, you should lose weight and you should like diet more. It's like it's such a like dangerous thing. So yeah.
Even when I was telling people what I was doing, oh, I'm gonna start recovery, and everyone's face was the same, like, why? You don't have a problem. Even though you give them all the symptoms and you don't have a problem, so
that is so upsetting. It's like pisses me off, like people just deciding that somebody doesn't have a problem. It's like so invalidating somebody's experience.
And I think that's why, like, I was really motivated to do an interview with you, because I feel that when I was researching recovery and all of that, I didn't see anyone like me. I didn't see, oh, I was overweight and then I decided to do recovery. And it was always, I had an eating disorder, or so I felt like, yeah, we need a presence too. Yeah.
So we started the recovery, or you started recovery, we started the coaching. So do you remember, like, how was it like maybe the first few weeks or the first month, like in specific?
It was so tough. It was so tough. Like I said, I watched other interviews and they all said it was tough, that it was challenging. But I don't know, it was really hard. I think the first 2 weeks, I didn't have extreme hunger because I didn't feel my hunger. But what I had was I had extreme mental hunger, for sure, you know? And when they say that you have to eat a lot during recovery, they are not kidding. I think I woke up, ate, and never stopped eating until I went to bed. Like, never, ever, ever. Because I thought about food that much. And I really wanted to do recovery well. I was really committed. I didn't want to relapse. I understood that it was hard. I really wanted to do it fully committed one time. So I honored my mental hunger like as much as I can. And I think maybe during the first 2 weeks, I probably honored it 80%. And just because at one point, if I ate some more, I was gonna vomit, but I pushed my body up to that point. And it was not only the food was hard to ingest because you were so full, your belly was gonna explode. But also everything else. Like for me, my body ached, my muscles ached, my joints ached, my feet were so swollen. It was hard to walk. It was hard to stand up. And I was so tired. I was so tired. And I remember saying to someone my experience, and they're like, well, for sure, if you eat that much, you're gonna be tired. But I felt like my body wanted to be tired, so I could sit down and lie down. And I remember the first 2 weeks I took at work, I took half days. So I would only work half a day, and the other half I would lie on the couch until my daughter came home. And it was really, really physically hard. And the first 2 weeks for sure were the hardest. And also mentally, it was really hard because, for like 28 years, food was the devil, and that kind of food too. You know, the first 2 weeks, all I ate was chocolate bars, cookies, ice cream, chips, really, really like calorie dense food, processed food, things I haven't eaten in years, even decades. That's all I ate for 2 weeks. And my stomach was also turning. Nothing worked, you know, everything was just, I guess, collapsing. Um, but I just kept at it. I remember those 2 weeks, I probably wrote to you like every single day. There's like a concern every day, you know? And yeah, so first 2 weeks, extremely, extremely hard. I just kept at it. And then after those 2 weeks, I think things were starting to go better. Like I would eat just as much, and I would say like, I don't know, something between 5 and 7,000 calories. And never in my life I ate that much. Never ever, not even for one day in my life. So it was definitely, definitely challenging to ingest that food mentally as well, you know. But after that, it got easier to eat. My digestive system just like kicked in, so at least I was able to, let go of that food as well. So for the next 2 weeks, I would say it was I would eat just as much food, but my body could tolerate it. I was able to get up, I was able to work full days. Um, uh, yes, things were just a tiny bit easier. But at that point, like I gained so much weight that it was hard to move as well, and I would say I probably gained like 75% of the total weight that I gained in the first 2 weeks. So it was, I imagine it was a big shock to my body as well, to sustain that weight gain. Just the movement was so, so difficult. Um, so yeah, I just kept at it again. I mean, I'm saying as I just kept at it, but it was really hard. Like every day was a challenge to eat that much. And I remember being really uh, reluctant to eat too, because for so many years this was not okay. This was the worst thing you could do to your body. And I remember uh, one day with you, we did this kind of like rewiring exercise, and we talked about, is eating a lot of food good or bad? And yeah, in recovery, eating that much food is really good, and I think at one point, like a switch went on, and I'm like, yeah, this is actually really good for me. So I think after week 4, I just ate just as much, but it was easier because I felt like I was doing something good for my body. I wasn't fighting against it anymore, So at that point, I enjoyed the food. And at that point too, I didn't um, crave uh, the chocolate bars and the processed food that much anymore. So I just crave foods that I actually enjoyed, So that at that point, it was easier. It was more enjoyable. And slowly and slowly, my hunger kind of like decreased. I think after 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, um, yeah, after 6 weeks, maybe my hunger decreased to kind of like a more normalish pace. I was probably eating, I don't know, 3 to 5,000 a day, but like I would have gaps that I didn't think about food. Sometimes I would be working, it'd be like 2 hours later, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't think about food for 2 hours. Like that was big at that point. The first 4 weeks is like I didn't think about food for 30 seconds. That was the biggest gap I had. But yeah, and slowly and surely, it normalized. And my hunger cues came back. I remember after 6 weeks, my hunger cues came back. So I ate, I got full, and then I got hungry and I ate. So yeah, my hunger cues came back after 6 weeks. And I think uh, I think in my journal, I wrote that by 10 weeks, I felt like I had normal eating behaviors. Like, yeah, I ate when I was full. I didn't think about food after I ate it. And then I thought about food again when I was hungry. And that was mind blowing to me. Yeah. Never in my wildest dream I thought that that was possible.
Yeah, like after 28 years experiencing first like the normal hunger cues and the signs and eating when hungry and stopping when full, right? Like after
Yeah.
28 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And feeling like, oh, like I'm satisfied.
Mhm.
Like I don't think I ever felt that before.
Yeah.
I just ate food, and then when I started feeling guilty, I would stop eating.
Mhm.
Or when I remember like waiting until it was like 11:30, which
Mhm.
was kind of like a normalish time to have lunch, and then I was like, okay, let's have lunch. It was never based on any of my internal cues. It was external. It was what society said that I could eat at what time, how much, until uh, I gain weight. Then I have to stop. So yeah, it was kind of like the first time that my internal cues decided when, what, uh, and how much I was gonna eat. And that was mind blowing. I remember that you promised me that in the beginning. In the beginning, you said that if I commit myself and I would do the work, that was gonna happen. And I'm like, oh, okay, Lisa, that's
Yay.
cute. All right, okay, I'll entertain you.
Yeah.
But when it happened, like it was a big day. It was
Mhm.
really good. Yeah.
Mhm.
It was really good, like not only that it's a good feeling, but also that it worked,
Mhm.
you know? Like I think I always deep within me knew that it was gonna work and this was the right process. But the chatter in my mind and the fears and the fear of weight gain and all of that, it would always distract me. But I think that was the first time that I'm like, yeah, that's it. It's working.
Yeah. And do you remember in the like we did like 12 weeks we worked together, like what helped you the most during those 12 weeks?
So I think what helped me the most when I entered recovery, I really thought it was an eating thing.
Mhm.
Like I was going to eat and nourish my body again. And once my body was feeling safe, then I would have my normal cues or whatever again. But what really helped me was the the mental work that we did, like the brain rewiring that we did. That helped me so much, not only to accept what I was going through, to accept my eating and all of that, but it also helped me like letting go of so many fears, so many preconceived ideas, so many agreements that I made as a child growing up. I thought like that was so helpful. And not only just with my eating disorder or the recovery process, but in life too. Like now I apply your exercises to other things in life and not just things that have anything to do with my recovery or my weight. So I thought that was so priceless. And I remember our first call, you started it right away. And I was so surprised because I thought, okay, I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna go through this process, and then okay, after that we'll talk about my mental state. But you started on day one, and I thought it was so helpful, and I feel like that's why my recovery was so short, like my process.
Mhm.
It I was so amazed at how short it was. I was committed. I mean, I'm still going through it, and every day it's getting better, but to get back my normal hunger cues, to become a normal eater again, that was really, really fast. And I feel that's because I challenged myself mentally. It's because of the rewiring that we did, and not just the food.
And I believe that a lot of the behaviors are affected by our thoughts and beliefs like behind those behaviors.
Yeah.
Right, so it's like we have to get like physically and mentally on the same page or the same level to achieve
Yeah.
recovery, because sometimes like we can apply the behaviors, but if on the mental side nothing changes, then it's so easy to go back, right?
Yeah.
Like when we have a trigger or like whatever happening. So I feel like the mental part has to be strong as well. And also I think like it's a very healthy to think that it's an ongoing process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, the work with yourself or the body image or the self-development, I like to think like it never stops. It's almost
Yeah. Yeah.
like when you want to have a healthy relationship, it's not like, oh, first few months you really dedicate and put your time into the relationship and then you let everything go because the
Yeah.
relationship should be good. No, when you want a healthy relationship with somebody, you work like with it forever, basically. But
Yeah.
I believe the good thing is that if you work constantly on your relationship, then over time the challenges get maybe less intimidating or less daunting over time because you have built this like
Yeah.
strong base already. So like over time you have even like stronger bond with yourself, with your body to face any triggers or any challenges, but then work never stops. It's like investing in yourself and creating this relationship. It's yeah, like the investment.
Yeah, for sure. And also it keeps you aware, you know? You
Mhm.
don't want to let go of this awareness. You don't want to go back. And I mean, it's been 4.5 months, and I still have days that I'm like, oh, should I be eating that much? You know, I would question myself, but it wouldn't last long, and it would never change my behavior. You know, it would never make me eat less. It would never make me want to go and run a marathon, you know? Like at at least if you're aware of that thought, it's so much easier to let go, I find.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also it's realistic to think that the brain rewiring and the like neural rewiring, it takes time and everything. And even when right now, like technically you are doing everything according to recovery, but to really like wire the brain and make it your new normal, your new identity, it's just take time and a lot of like repetition and practicing in different scenarios in your life and everything. So like I also want people to have these realistic expectations of recovery and not expect that, yeah, like after 3 months I'm fully recovered and never have to think about it. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you really have to like constantly work on it so you stay in it as well. Like, because I
Yeah.
believe like, yeah, you can get rid of the, the symptoms and everything rather quickly if you apply recovery, but really to make it sustainable forever, it's like, it's gonna take time. And actually like as we said, like the mental part and everything, it's like the lifelong investment, I would say. But
Yeah.
actually it goes with everything, not just recovery, like with everything you're gonna go through, I don't
Yeah.
know, relationship stuff or work stuff or another like identity stuff in other parts, like not related to recovery or anything. It's like yeah, like ongoing thing.
Yeah. And I still find myself like I know that uh my thoughts about dieting and losing weight and changing my body, it's completely different now. Like I never will control my body weight again. You know, like I trust my body. It does what it's doing. It needs to be at a certain weight to do what it's doing. I don't challenge it ever, ever, ever. But I still catch myself having behaviors. Like, let's say, you know, first thing I do when I get off of bed, like I feel my belly.
Mhm,
You know, I still have those little things that I have to catch myself. They
mhm,
come almost instinctively. You know, I don't consciously choose to do it, but you know, I have to be aware and have to stop it because that kind of contributes to, you know, that dieting mentality that I want to completely let go of, you know,
mhm.
or like body checking or wishing I could be this, that, and the other. Yeah, I have to catch myself and let go of those things.
And what I
Yeah.
really loved, like working with you, was that like you were like so aware and very like accountable to the like changing your behaviors, and you
Mm-hmm.
applied like everything we talked about, and even though it was very hard, like you always showed up, and you were curious and asking questions and
Mm-hmm.
putting everything into practice. And So I believe like you did the work, right? It's not like
Yeah.
I said something magical, but it was just like you putting everything into practice, and that's why, yeah, you got better. And also so like, can you share how is it right now? Like, what is the progress you have made, like since starting recovery and being through recovery and like right now?
I feel like every day there's a bit of something new. And now it's almost like I've forgotten how I was before.
Mm.
So that question, I'm like, what did change? But my life is so much better now. Like, for sure, I don't think about food uh, in between being hungry. And some days I'm hungry every hour, and some days I'm hungry every 4 hours, but in between, I'm not thinking about food. I'm not fantasizing about food. I'm not planning my next meal. Um, Also, like, eating without guilt or shame is so beautiful. Like, it's so freeing. I've never had that before recovery. And that's how I eat all the time now. So I'm hungry. I go get something that I really enjoy or something that's available. If there's nothing I enjoy, at least I'm like, oh, let's have that just to nourish my body. I eat it and then I forget about it. That's never happened before. Like, if you tell this to a normal eater, they'll be like, okay, whatever. But if you spend 28 years dissecting everything that you eating while feeling guilty, and then you finish eating, and then you feel total shame for having an extra one or two or three bites, like, this is so liberating. Like, it allows so much free space in my mind for other things, not thinking about food. It, uh, I don't know. That in itself, for me, is so priceless. But also other things, like, I'm never cold anymore. I'm actually hot. I don't know. During the first 2 weeks, I was actually sweating in my bed every single night. But now, like, I'm never cold. It's great. My digestive system is super regular. I don't even have to think about it. I never have like discomfort in my belly. Um, yeah, it's just total freedom to think about other things. Like, food is definitely not my main concern anymore. Sometimes it's like 6 p.m. and me and my boyfriend are both looking at each other like, oh my God, we have to plan something to eat. Like, that's before I would plan menus weeks in advance. Like, my whole week was like set. And yeah, now it's just like food has taken uh it's definitely on the back burner. It's it's not a priority. I can think about other things. Uh, I can think about other things that are more important to me than food. So that is really good. I haven't started exercising again, and I don't really have that. I'm not compelled for it. Like, now I walk my daughter to school, to daycare, and I just do my everyday movements that I need to do to get my stuff done. Sometimes I'll take a little walk, but other than that, like, not being worried about exercise also is so light.
Mm.
Like, before too, I wake up like, oh, I should exercise today. I should do this. Then night comes, I'm so tired. Oh, I can't believe I didn't exercise. It's like that constant cycle of guilt and shame that never leaves you when you have an eating disorder or disordered eating. It just never leaves you. Like, you live in perpetual guilt and shame.
Mm.
And I don't have that anymore. Like, it doesn't matter what I ate, when I ate, how much I ate. I have zero feeling about it afterwards.
And how has your relationship changed, or your, I don't know, work, or like, has it affected your life in any way besides just the food part?
It's it's a little bit uh still in the works. Like, it's different now because I mean, we're still slowly getting out of the pandemic. So all this time I was in recovery, there's so many people I didn't see, you know. So I mean, those haven't been, I guess, challenged yet, but I did. I always, like, during our process, tried to challenge myself to go see people at work, you know, to let them see me at a different weight. And I'm not gonna lie, like, it's it's still not easy. It's um it's still challenging. I'm still pushing myself mentally to be more accepting of where I am. But it's not easy. It's That's my challenge right now. It's no longer the food or anything. It's really to accept myself where I am and not um, put my worth or my values on how much I weigh. You know, and I think that's what kind of like, you know, growing up and having your parents, you know, like liking you when you're skinny and kind of like be angry at you when you're fat. It kind of like it does make you um attach your worth and your pride to how you look. So right now I'm working on breaking those agreements, breaking those, I guess, ideas that I made, that, yeah, I can be great at any size.
And is there anything you would like to recommend to the viewers who are in recovery, like anything from your wisdom? What helped you?
Um, for me, it's what really helped me the most was to trust the process. You know, no matter what happened, at the end of the day, I trusted the process. Um, I trusted my body. So that trust really carried me through. Also, I think, like, recovery is a pretty um, like lonely process. You know, there's not a million people around you going through recovery. Like, there is a million people around you dieting and overexercising. And if you're in that phase, you're very welcome everywhere, you know? But when you're in recovery, it's pretty lonely. Like, it's not fully accepted, I guess. So having support, like having coaching, I thought for me was so priceless. I remember like having doubts or having questions and writing to you at night, and in the morning I had support. You know, I had an answer, I had a tap in the back, I had like go tango. You know, I thought that was so helpful. I also think journaling was so helpful. I thought writing down my thoughts. I thought I remember like writing letters to everything. I wrote letters to my eating disorders to say goodbye. I wrote letters to my body apologizing and saying I would trust you in the future. I wrote letters to like my fit and healthy self, that, you know, you're not welcome anymore in my life, you know. I wrote letters to everything. Like, I think it really helped me, like, um really letting go of those things, letting go of the past, like welcoming the future. I remember writing letters to my future um recovered self as well. And everything, it's really great because I read back and everything that I wish I was, I am. And so it's really great, you know. So yeah, journaling is really helpful. Uh, and also knowing that it's, oh my God, it's gonna take time. And then every day when you think that, oh, again, I still have extreme hunger, you know, it's gonna pass. And when you're in it, you never think it's gonna pass. Like, it's so strong that you're like, this is it, you know, I'm gonna be like that one exception that it's not gonna work and I'm gonna have extreme hunger for the rest of my life, you know. But it passes. So just really to take one day at a time and to be really patient. It takes time. I'm still patient, things are still not 100%. So every day, yeah, it's just to be patient and it's part of the process and not to rush it. Just to embrace every single day and also to enjoy it. Like, I mean, you get to eat.
And become free. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And I remember
yeah,
like we like one of the first weeks maybe we did some rewiring. You had this belief that like I can't fully recover. I remember, right?
yeah,
Like you are like, oh, I don't even believe it. Like I can say it, but I don't believe it. And we did reframing and everything. And after I don't know a month or a couple of months or something, you are like, actually, yeah. Like I remember we were talking about it. And now I can actually believe it and I can see it. And
yeah,
it's just like how it is, right? Like it doesn't matter that at first maybe you can't see it or believe it, but like if you work towards it and you like reframe those thoughts and deal with the mindset and everything along the way, then like over time like it becomes a possibility and you can
yeah,
actually see it and the more you go through recovery, I always say that it's much better to like go through it yourself and then see the results on your own skin, like so to say, than like me just telling you, because then
yeah,
it becomes like way more powerful like motivator to keep on going. So but it's kind of like the fact that then you just have to keep on going and like trust the
yeah,
process, as you said, to even see those results. But it's just like if you put in the work and it's like slowly but surely you can make it into your reality as well. So yeah,
and
like
it's a
things can change,
journey.
your mindset changes, your beliefs changes,
Yeah,
your behaviors changes, everything can
yeah.
change. Mm-hmm.
And also, like, it's not a straight line. It's ups and downs and left and right. Every day is different. And just when you're like, oh yeah, it's getting better, you get a curveball. So it's a journey, and you have to take it as it comes. If you expect it to be something else, you're gonna be frustrated the whole journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. So
expectation.
today I feel better, and yet, tomorrow I'm gonna have extreme hunger and feel frustrated and sad and angry and doubtful, and it's everything is normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, so thank you so much for sharing all of this and talking about your story and your recovery and everything you went through and also where you are today. And I know it's gonna be so helpful for many people who see your story and maybe you're gonna be the inspiration for them to start their
Ah,
recovery or keep going in their recovery. So thank you so
yeah.
much.
And thank you, because I don't think we would have the same conversation if I didn't meet you, if I didn't stumble on that video of yours, if I didn't have you as a coach. Like, I truly feel I would be in such a different, worse place than I am today. So thank you.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason and it helps me
Yeah,
so much because I know then like my recovery or eating disorder happened for a reason and then recovery and all the struggles I went through, like this is it. It's kind of like this is why I needed to go through
yeah,
this and it just gives it meaning and now you can just pass the meaning on to like your daughter or your relationship you have in your life, but also like to the viewers now here. So it's like it's gonna
yeah.
spread.
Like, sometimes I think, I feel like, if I didn't go through recovery and my daughter was like, I don't know, 14, and she would say something like, "Oh, mommy, I have big thighs. I want to have smaller
Mm.
thighs." I would have such a different advice for her
Mhm.
if I didn't go through recovery. I would probably say, "Oh yeah, well, watch what you eat, and we can exercise together." Well, now I wouldn't say that ever. I would say your body is where it needs to be. And I'm so happy for recovery, just so that I can give that advice to my daughter, a different kind of advice to break this cycle of diet culture that's just eating us alive.
Yeah, to break the chain in your family, like the diet culture,
Yeah.
like your parents learned it from somewhere and then you learned it from them and it's nobody's fault. But it's like when we become aware, it's like now we actually have a choice. Like, do I want to continue the same way and give the same legacy, or I can change the legacy I'm gonna give to
Yeah,
like the future
exactly.
generation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just for that, I find it's priceless to go through recovery. Like, for me, yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, thank you so much, and thank you for the viewers as well. And I'm gonna see you in my next video.
Bye.
Bye.